Electric vehicles are everywhere now. They're marketed as the future of transportation, promising a greener footprint and a cool, high-tech driving experience. But what they don't always tell you about are the quirks, the little and sometimes not so little things that can make EV ownership a bit more challenging than you might expect. So today, we're diving deep into the top 17 hidden issues EV owners face. The stuff nobody really talks about until you're in the thick of it. Let's get started. Let's talk range when the weather changes. Cold weather, range dips. Hot weather, range dips again. Winter drains your battery faster. Heaters, seats, and cold tires add to the drain. Okay, you've got your EV, you're loving the instant torque, the quiet ride, everything's great until you need to charge and realize charging stations aren't as common as gas stations. There are gaps, especially in rural areas. And even if you find one, it might not work. The key is planning. Map out your charging stops and have backups. There are apps for that. Use them. So you've found a charging station. You're all set, right? Well, get ready to settle in because charging an EV takes a bit longer than filling up your gas tank. Even with fast chargers, you're looking at a significant chunk of time compared to the 5 minutes it takes to fuel up a gas car. Think of charging time as an opportunity to catch up on emails, listen to a podcast, or finally finish that book you've been meaning to read. And here's a pro tip. Try to avoid letting your battery get too low before charging. One of the great things about owning an EV is being able to fuel up at home. While most EVs come with a standard level 1 charger that plugs into a regular outlet, these things charge at a snail's pace. To really take advantage of home charging, you'll want to install a level 2 charger, which is significantly faster. But here's the catch: installation can be pricey. This is one of those hidden costs that often catches new EV buyers off guard. It's an investment that will pay off in the long run, both in convenience and in the lifespan of your battery. Let's talk about batteries, the heart and soul of your EV. Just like your smartphone battery, EV batteries degrade over time. This means that as your EV ages, you'll notice a gradual decrease in your range. Factors like extreme temperatures, high-speed charging, and even just the way you drive can all affect battery degradation. So be kind to your battery. Avoid those super-fast chargers unless absolutely necessary, and your EV will thank you in the long run. Okay, here's the big one, the elephant in the room when it comes to EV ownership: battery replacement. While EV batteries are designed to last a long time, they don't last forever. And when the time comes to replace them, well, let's just say it's not cheap. The good news is that battery prices are steadily decreasing as technology improves and production scales up. But it's still a hefty chunk of change, and it's important to be prepared for that eventuality down the line. If you're someone who frequently tows heavy loads, an EV might not be your best bet, at least not yet. While some EVs are starting to offer decent towing capacity, many struggle in this department, and even those that can tow often see a drastic reduction in their range when doing so. The extra weight puts a strain on the battery, draining it much faster than usual. Make sure to check the EV's towing capacity and factor in the potential range reduction before hitching up. Speaking of weight, those massive battery packs that power EVs aren't exactly lightweight. Heavier vehicles put more stress on their tires, causing them to wear down faster. And because EVs tend to have a lot of torque, you might find yourself replacing your tires more often than you're used to. The good news is that there are tire options specifically designed for EVs, with reinforced sidewalls and tread patterns optimized for heavier vehicles. One of the coolest things about EVs is regenerative braking. Instead of just wasting energy as heat when you brake, like traditional cars do, EVs use that energy to recharge the battery. But there's a catch: it feels weird. Regenerative braking can be quite aggressive, especially at lower speeds, and it takes some getting used to. The good news is that most EVs allow you to adjust the level of regenerative braking, so you can find a setting that feels comfortable for you. And once you get used to it, you'll probably wonder how you ever lived without it. Here's another hidden cost that often surprises new EV owners' insurance. Because EVs are packed with advanced technology and often have higher repair costs than traditional cars, they can be more expensive to insure. Those fancy sensors, cameras, and high-voltage components don't come cheap to replace. The good news is that as EVs become more common, insurance premiums are expected to decrease. But for now, it's something to factor in when comparing the overall cost of ownership between an EV and a gas-powered car. While the EV market is expanding rapidly, it's still relatively limited compared to the vast selection of gas-powered vehicles available. This is especially true if you're looking for something specific like a minivan, a pickup truck, or a convertible. The good news is that as demand for EVs continues to grow, so too will the variety of models available. Automakers are investing heavily in electric vehicle development, and it's only a matter of time before the EV aisle at your local dealership is just as diverse as the gas-powered one. EVs are essentially computers on wheels. They rely heavily on software to control everything from battery management to infotainment systems. And just like any computer, software can be prone to bugs and glitches. While most software issues can be resolved with a simple software update, these updates can sometimes be inconvenient. The good news is that as EV technology matures, software reliability is improving. Predicting the resale value of an electric vehicle can be tricky. The EV market is still evolving rapidly, with new technologies and models emerging all the time. Factors like battery degradation, technological advancements, and government incentives can all impact an EV's resale value. The good news is that as the EV market matures and stabilizes, predicting resale values will become easier. But for now, it's important to do your research and be prepared for the possibility that your EV might depreciate faster than a comparable gas-powered car. Public charging stations, the Wild West of the EV world. With limited charging infrastructure and varying charging speeds, it's no surprise that etiquette can sometimes go out the window. From charger hogs who leave their cars plugged in long after they're finished charging to icing incidents where gas-powered cars block charging spaces, navigating the world of public charging requires patience and a healthy dose of understanding. The key here is communication and consideration. If you see someone waiting for a charger, be mindful of their time and unplug your car once it's fully charged. One of the purported benefits of owning an EV is the lower fuel cost. And while it's true that electricity is generally cheaper than gasoline, calculating your actual charging costs can be surprisingly complex. Unlike gas stations, where the price per gallon is clearly displayed, EV charging costs can vary widely depending on the charging network, the time of day, and even the location. Some charging networks charge by the kilowatt hour, while others charge by the minute. The key here is to do your research and plan ahead. Familiarize yourself with the different charging networks in your area, their pricing structures, and any available discounts or incentives. As with any vehicle, EVs require maintenance and occasional repairs. But unlike traditional gas-powered cars, which can be serviced by most mechanics, EVs often require specialized knowledge and equipment. This can make finding a qualified mechanic a challenge, especially in areas where EVs are less common. The good news is that as EVs become more mainstream, the availability of qualified technicians will increase. Check with your dealership or local EV clubs for recommendations. EVs are often touted as a more environmentally friendly alternative to gas-powered cars. And while it's true that they produce zero tailpipe emissions, the overall environmental impact of EVs is more nuanced than it might seem. The production of EV batteries, in particular, raises concerns about mining practices, resource depletion, and carbon emissions. However, it's important to note that the environmental impact of battery production is an area of active research and development. Automakers and battery manufacturers are constantly working to improve the sustainability of their supply chains. So there you have it, the top 17 hidden issues EV owners face, the stuff they don't always tell you in the glossy brochures. From range anxiety and charging challenges to battery degradation and unexpected costs, Owning an EV comes with its own unique set of quirks. The key is to go in with your eyes wide open, armed with the knowledge you need to make an informed decision. If you're considering making the switch to an EV, do your research, weigh the pros and cons, and decide if the benefits outweigh the challenges. And if you do take the plunge, embrace the quirks, be prepared for the unexpected, and enjoy the ride. Share this list with anyone considering an EV to help them weigh the pros and cons.